What's going on, guys? Seth and Chevy here. We just watched episode 4 of season 1 of Kaiju number 8. I almost said Delicious in Dungeon because that's what we've been watching. And if you're interested in that, go check out our reviews of that. But this is for Kaiju number 8, episode 4. And we'll be going full spoilers ahead, so make sure you watch this episode. And we'll do a real quick recap. This is basically the continuation of the examination that happened in the last episode. Kafka is not only willing to continue, he's allowed to continue with the caveat that they will pull him if they feel like they need to. So he and Tachikawa move on with Tachikawa carrying him while he holds the gun. Teamwork. They are being laughed at by a lot of people, specifically the dude in the observation room. He's having a blast with this. And the blonde girl, Koriku? I'll get it by the next episode. Blonde girl is going through mowing down everything. She's killing everything before anyone else can get a chance to kill it. And she's doing what she's been doing, just being the best at what she does. And she finally takes out the last kaiju. They're calling them Yojus and Hanju?
Yeah, depending on their size.
Yeah, okay. Or Haiju. I don't remember.
I think it was whole.
Hoju, so Honju. Anyway, something. So she kills that, and then, while everybody's celebrating, basically finishing the exam, it's over. The blonde girl notices that there's some weird, like, mushroom-looking kaiju dude hanging out next to the kaiju she just killed, and he is basically bringing them back, but they're stronger than they were before. She gets shot almost through the heart by this kaiju, and which is kind of crazy in the contrast of her just going through murdering everything. She also just gets like shot and almost killed. Her suit's able to block the bleeding, though, stop the bleeding, and she goes to attack the guy. He ends up shooting her in all of her limbs, basically immobilizing her, and then he leaves the kaiju to kill her. And again, it's more powerful than it was, so it goes to just walks up and hits her, really knocks her into a wall, battering her around. We get a flashback of basically how she is the way she is. Her dad had high expectations of her, told her always to be perfect. She's important to the future of the country. And so, when other kids are being celebrated, achieving things, her dad didn't give her that. Her dad was just like, you need to be perfect. Like, it's not a big deal. And so we get kind of a background on why she is the way she is. She was raised to not accept anything but the best, basically, from her own performance. And this comes into play with her not wanting to basically give up with fighting this kaiju, but she gets to a point where she literally can't fight anymore. Her arm's mangled. She can't grab her gun. And while this is happening, third division? Is that the name of the...
It's the leader of the third division. And
the main group, they're coming in to assist, kill the kaiju, running on foot, and the rest of the examinees are all evacuating while this is happening. The kaiju is about to kill the blonde girl when Kafka shows up and reveals that he can turn into a kaiju, trying to reassure the blonde girl that, she did well. But he's going to take care of it now. But please don't tell anybody. He starts panicking. And then he basically transforms in front of her. She is not believing what she's seeing. And he walks up and punches the kaiju's skin, muscles, everything just flies off of him.
A layer at a time.
Until he just completely eviscerates. Very One Punch Man-esque. And... it tries to regenerate, which is kind of a hint towards that mushroom dude's abilities, but it can't. I don't think there's enough there to regenerate. So it collapses, and Tachikawa shows up, sees that Kafka has transformed. He figured he was going to do this. He sees he's doing it. He's upset about it. And then the blonde girl passes out, and they end up carrying her to the shelter. There's also a quick scene, too, I thought was cool, where... after Kafka had destroyed the one kaiju, he just flicks his hand over the blonde girl's head and just blew up one of the Yojis or whatever, which was very satisfying to watch. So they take her back to the shelter. the upper echelon people, the third division, show up, and they notice this is like 3 months ago when they saw another kaiju that had gotten destroyed happen, and they're going, there's obviously something here we don't understand. They start suspecting, this wasn't the blonde girl that did this. Also, it's worth noting that at one point they had a register on their computers that there was a 9.8 kaiju in the area that is, according to them, one of the highest leveled kaijus they've ever seen.
Yeah, for context, the one he was fighting was like a 6.2 or something like that.
Yeah, so gives us a little bit of a reading on how powerful he is at his current state, which he just started being this kaiju thing. So, so Kafka's in the hospital, back in the hospital, getting better. Mina comes in, thanks them for saving the blonde girl. Then we get Koriko. I think that's her name. But she is in a rehabilitation pod type thing, and she's basically talking to her dad and kind of delirious. The one guy, I don't remember his name, Fox-face guy, comes in and basically asks her, like, hey, what even happened out there? Are you the one that took that kaiju out? And she remembers Kafka asking to not reveal his secret, and so she takes she says that she killed the kaiju. We get a scene with him kind of looking like, okay, if that's the story. Was there anything else that happened after that was really important?
After that, no. Well, the phone scene.
Oh, yeah, no, that's huge. Then we get a scene in a bathroom. The mushroom kaiju humanoid is in there trying to figure out, he's like watching the news or whatever, what the hell is even going on. He ends up transforming into a human. Basically the opposite of what Kafka is going on. Like, he's a human turning into a kaiju. This dude is like a kaiju turning into a human. And he comes out to some familiar faces, the cleanup crew that Kafka was a part of, and he is apparently a new recruit working with them, but he's having similar issues to Kafka, and he's having a problem controlling his body's state. So that's very interesting. He's walking among us, basically. Action-packed episode with a bunch of crazy stuff happening in it. What do we think?
I actually think it's probably my favorite episode so far, just because there wasn't like this whole explanation of things happening outside of like some small things here and there, because obviously we're doing all the introductions at the beginning of the show, but this is like the first time we just had like an episode. The only explanation we really got was backstory on the blonde gal, which is fine. Obviously, she's going to be one of the main characters. I really enjoyed the basically seeing like why she is the way she is, but also like that she is the type to just kind of like go until she can't. That's a pretty cool character trait, for me.
Well, she said one thing that kind of flipped some of my perspective on her. She said, when I'm here, nobody dies on the squad.
Yeah, so she could tell she like cares about like the position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at first it comes off like she's just like a brat and like, I'm the best.
Yeah.
And then she is really good, and it's like, okay, well, she's really good and she's kind of an asshole about it. But then after you see her background and that she's actually trying to preserve people's lives.
Yeah.
She's just like, I have to be this good, basically. Right. I have to be effective.
Yeah,
so that's kind of interesting.
A brat, when she speaks, basically. But
yeah,
obviously she has the care within her.
Yeah, it's not just because she's got an ego. Yeah. And then she had to have an ego.
Even right before Kafka transformed, he praised her. Which I don't think she's used to either. It probably has a lot to do with her like keeping the secret, actually. So
because her dad wouldn't praise her.
Yeah,
and then someone older than her. So even though he's only 30, but to her, you're an old man.
Right.
Praising her is probably something she wasn't used to as well. With also the shock of trying to take in the situation, because there's a couple scenes there where she just like looked like she was just trying to process.
Well, everything. It's an unknown thing.
Yeah.
Right. And then yeah, the actual scene of him punching the I hate the names.
It's kaiju.
They'll stick
whatever.
eventually, but the medium-sized kaiju. It had a lot of the anti seizure. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's called. I think it's just called dimming. But
It's definitely dimmed.
yeah, it makes it like kind of hard to see the details, unfortunately. So I'm sure that scene will be a lot cooler in the Blu-ray release. But it was cool. I just wish it would have been crystal clear.
The animation and the detail, from what I could see, was really
It
good.
was really good. Yeah, it just
it just-
really got nerfed.
Yeah, it's like you have your phone and it's like, well, not my phone because I got a S24 Ultra, but normal phones, when the sun's like on it and it doesn't like turn up bright enough and it doesn't have anti-glare, like you can't see what the fuck you're looking at. That's what it reminded me of. Like I was like, I can kind of see what's happening here, but not as much as I would like. So it was an awesome scene. It's kind of a bummer they had to do that. So
Yeah, I also just really like they really make it cool, right? The way when he was getting ready to punch and stuff like that, like all the subtle angles and like the little like all the lighting and like the changes in his body and stuff like that. Super cool looking, which I really liked. Kind of reminds me of, and obviously we're talking about kaiju, but reminds me of like Godzilla, where Godzilla like kind of starts transforming slightly before like the radiation breath. So
yeah, it's definitely very similar.
yeah, it's really cool. I liked it a lot. I don't think I have a lot more to say on it, just because a lot of it was just kind of this event. But overall, it was a lot of fun, and if this is what we're in store for, it'll be a fun show. So
Yeah, I agree. Also, my favorite episodes so far, which is pretty good to be able to say within 4 episodes that I'm even thinking about that, because I think the first 2 episodes started strong. They're really good. Third episode was kind of meh, but it was setting it up for this. And this is what we talked about in our last review. We're hoping that, it's going to lead up to something worth it, and I think it did.
yeah,
Especially with my concerns of, we already know he's powerful, so this whole like story element of like he's struggling to do the exam, I get it, but like for us as the viewer, what's the payoff? Because we already know he's more powerful than he is showing. And so in this episode, I mean, I wasn't expecting him just to reveal himself. I thought he was going to like come and punch it and then like, turn back into normal, something like that. But he actually like revealed himself really early on. I mean, in like a comic book, this wouldn't happen until like later on. But, this early on, he's like, oh, this is me. Please don't tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, the payoff was really good. It really ramped up the stakes pretty quickly in the 4th episode, which is kind of crazy. Wasn't expecting to see the blonde girls get shot. They did a really good job on showcasing how powerful she is, giving us some context on why she's like that. But then also, if she's the strongest of all these people in this arena and she just got taken out by this thing, that's not good for anybody. Even had me second guessing what the 3rd division is going to do. They're better, they're better equipped for this kind of thing, but even in that moment I'm like, are they gonna be able to take that thing out? So that was cool. I liked that we got context with her. Didn't fully explain everything, but it gave us some good background on why the way she is. It made the last episode make a lot more sense.
Also just fleshing her out better as a character.
Yeah. Yeah, between that and her even, saying that, and we saw a little bit in the last episode, she saved Kafka, and in that episode kind of seemed like she did it almost to like, haha, I'm better than you, blah blah blah. But in this episode, it's like, oh, she's like trying to make sure nobody gets hurt. So that's kind of cool. That gives her a likable element, because in the first episode she showed up in, and even the last episode, I'm like, is she gonna be likable? Like she seems kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun. The big scene with Kafka punching the kaiju was awesome. The detail I could make out with that dimming was really neat. Watching the body peel off of the bones as he punched, like that was fucking wild looking.
Yeah.
And then he just exploded into blood rain, which was,
which they like to use in the show apparently.
Yeah. But it's a good effect because kind of makes sense. These things are huge, so if they go pop, there's going to be a lot of juices flowing. So
True.
I also love the backhand of the other kaiju. That was a lot of fun. I like Tachikawa, which I just saw in this episode. His name's Reno. which is interesting. Reno Tachikawa. So if they start calling him Reno, because they get familiar enough, I'll start calling him Reno. But until then, I'll keep calling him Tachikawa. I like his and Kafka's dynamic. Even early in the episode, when Tachikawa says he's going to support Kafka, and Kafka remembers back to when he tried to save him with the sign or whatever, it kind of adds to his character to make him likable that he is. Because the first episode or two, first episode for sure, kind of seemed like an asshole. I thought that was going to be his arc, but he's like a really likable character already. He's like a supportive dude, which I like.
He's a good little kohai.
Yeah. So that was cool. And yeah, I kind of like the mystery for the third division, trying to figure out what the hell's even happening with these kaiju just getting wrecked before they even show up. That's going to be a fun mystery for them to have to figure out. And I'm really interested in the Bizarro Kafka guy who's kaiju first, human second. That's actually a really interesting thing because we still don't even know why Kafka got chosen by whatever the hell that thing was.
Yeah, because they straight up just found you
and just flew into him. And it's did that happen to something else, like a kaiju or something? And it we don't know, but it's an interesting twist. So it's kind of cool to see that there's a more intelligent, able to speak kaiju entity out there that's going to start pulling strings, it seems. So, and he's among them. He's in that cleaning crew. So that's not very good because he can bring them back, and he's going to be cleaning their remains. So that's really interesting. So yeah, overall, it was a really good episode. Definitely the best one so far, and 3 of them have been super solid. So definitely a good start to the show. Definitely looking forward to the next episode and where things go. Show's got cool style, good action, good animation, good humor, a lot of charm, likable characters. So I'm definitely ready to keep watching the show. And yeah, it's good stuff. Anything else?
I think that's about it, yeah.
All right, well, let us know in the comments what you guys think of this episode. What are some of the highlights, something maybe we didn't talk about in this episode you want to talk about? Let us know. If you know any spoilers, please do not share them here. We want to go into the next episodes blind. It's more fun that way for everybody. Maybe you're really excited, wait till this thing happens. We'll wait till we get to see it for the first time without knowing what it was, and it's going to be really fucking cool. So we appreciate you guys for that. I actually had somebody recently ask me in the comments, they're like, I don't know if I were to tell you something that is not in the manga, but something that the creator wanted to talk about, or he talked about in a magazine or something like that, in terms of the inspiration for all the different clones in Delicious in Dungeon.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I don't think that's a spoiler, so they ended up typing that out.
Oh, cool.
So I appreciated that they asked. So
I think most people, at least from what I've seen, at least in the anime community, are pretty good about not spoiling things, because I think a lot of people actually thrive on watching people's reactions.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I appreciate that. In the movie and gaming sphere, it's a little different. People race to let you know what the hell happened before you even get a chance to see it. So
yeah, for sure.
I do think people who the same thing happened with Game of Thrones though too, when we're watching that, and people who had read the books, they're just wait till this thing happens, but they wouldn't spoil it.
Yeah,
so.
Often in comment sections we'll see manga people be like, the anime onlys have no idea what's about to come their way. So
I was like JJK and the whole last season, people kept building that up, and then finally we watched, and I was like,
watch the manga author just abuse us.
Yeah, but we won't talk about that in case you guys aren't watching JJK, but you should go watch that if you haven't. But until the next episode, I've been Seth, this has been Chevy. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you guys later.